All right, thank you. So in our last class, we did introduce to Power BI. So I'm taking that again now. And we have done the introduction, but in real world, data could come from disparate sources. It could be from Excel, it could be from a website, it could be from a database, it could be any source whatsoever. Then we are going to be working with data. Now, the form in which your data is coming should not be an obstruction or a limitation to what you are doing. So everything we are going to do in today's class is about ETL. And if you understand ETL very well, then I think you have laid a good foundation for your data career. Because at the end of the day, if you are going beyond being a data analyst, or you want to be a data engineer, or you want to be a data scientist, ETL is something you will always course. Now, you should not be mistaken. Power BI is not just for data visualization. Power BI is a very robust tool end to end. So what you did last week was just to extract data and then you loaded it, which was almost clean. But in real world scenario, you see people now. If I share a form with us now and then I ask us to start filling a form, writing our name and our last name, you will see some people writing their first name in lowercase, some in uppercase, or their Gmail. So data sets in real life come in various forms. Most of the time, they call it dirty data sets. So the process of you actually making that data set clean into a useful form for analysis is the transform, which is the T of our ETL. And then eventually you move the transform data to a data repository. Data repository could be your SQL database, could be your Excel file, could be even your SharePoint list, could be even in your cloud. It could be in Azure AWS or any cloud technology or even GCP. So you extract data from multiple sources, from internet, from Google, from your organization website, from your phone conversation, from whatever kind of data. You have to extract them and then you transfer them to a form that is usable. Then you move them into where you are going to be storing them, which could be a data repository, like I mentioned, SQL database, Azure databases, Oracle, Google Query, Excel file, even SharePoint list. So this is essentially what we are going to be doing. So we are going to be doing extracting data from at least 3 to 4 sources today. We will transform them and also load them. So I have my Power BI open now. So but before we go ahead, there are some settings I would like us to do for our Power BI. If you are checking Power BI for the first time, now I want you to know that Power BI is a desktop application. However, there are various blocks to Power BI. Apart from being a desktop application part of it, there is the mobile app and also there is Power BI service. Power BI service is where you do your collaboration. Every work you are doing inside the Power BI desktop gets published to Power BI service. So I'm trying to look for a real life example of something that you are okay. Now, say you have a Word document, you have a picture on your phone memory, but you don't want to lose that picture. Then you upload it to, let's say, your Google Drive in the cloud or anywhere. So that is how Power BI desktop work. You build your work with Power BI desktop and then you publish it to Power BI service, which is the online version of Power BI where you do your collaboration. So once you have it published in Power BI service, you can then collaborate with people within and outside your organization. So you can collaborate, you can do so many things on that. But like I said, I don't want to load us with too much information. So we'll take it a step at a time. So we are doing Power BI desktop today, which is the desktop application. So everything you are going to be doing inside Power BI desktop is a report. Because if you are aiming to write your PL 300 exam at the end of this training, there are some gray area that Microsoft will ask question about. For example, they will ask you what's the difference between a report and a dashboard. So everything you are going to do in your Power BI desktop is actually a report. You can only create a dashboard on Power BI service. So I'm sure that if you are going through the documentation, you must have seen various Power BI assets or artifacts. You see Power BI dataset, Power BI report, Power BI desktop, Power BI tile, and all those things, Power BI mobile. So these are the various Power BI artifacts or assets that you'll be working with. So everything we are working with now is Power BI report. Just like your Word document we save as .dox or your Excel file we save as .xlx, Power BI file will be saved as PBIX file. So anytime I'm saying PBIX file, I'm talking about your Power BI file. So that's the format in which Power BI report is being saved. Am I making sense, please?
Yes, yes, yeah. PBIX. Am I right?
Yes, yes.
Power BI
All right,
service.
sir.
So your Power BI file is, and I hope I'm not too boring and too.
No, no, no. Please go on, sir.
All right. Other people should
It's
respond.
fine. Go on, sir.
All right. Thank you.
Go on, sir. It's fine. We're following.
Okay. So this is the interface of Power BI desktop that we are going to be working with, which I believe that Iri Media has. I don't even believe. I know because I watched the class myself before now. So this is the interface, but the little things I want us to know about Power BI now is that is a continuous project by Microsoft. Now, I count you guys lucky because there are some things on Power BI desktop now that are way easier. The interface is now more of low code, low code. Don't be deceived, you are still going to write Dash code. I'm not scaring you, but then you are going to do that. Is way easier than compared to when I started, and it was not this attractive and seamless. Then you have to have some things. If you check your own Power BI desktop now, you probably have home, insert, modeling, view, optimize, help, and external tools. So external tool is advanced. Just forget about it. So don't worry yourself about it. When you get to that point, you have external tool tab too. So these are some of the external tools that I use. You have your Dark Studio, Tablet Editor 2 and 3. So there are so many other ones that you can use in your work. So, but when you start doing advanced Power BI projects, then you have your external tool also tab available in your Power BI. So once you open your Power BI desktop, this is what you have. Is someone trying to get my attention? Yeah, please go ahead. Chichi, your hand is raised, Chichi.
Oh, sorry, I was talking. I didn't know I was muted. I thought, is there a way you can put your screen on presenting mode because I'm struggling to see the screen, and somebody else already put that noted that down already.
Okay.
It's kind of very small.
Mm, sorry about that. Uh, let me see. Let me see. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll just reshare it now and then how about now, Chichi?
Just hold on. It's still loading. It's still the same. Like, so what I'm trying to say is I can see the add data to your report and all, but you see the other smaller bits, it's very small apart from the Excel sheets.
Like this part that I
Yes, it's so small. Yeah.
yeah, they are
All right.
actually small. Don't worry about it. I will not probably I'm probably not going to touch it today.
Okay.
So just focus on all these tabs that we have up here.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Sorry, I just want to say, Chichi, are you watching from a phone,
No, from a laptop.
from laptop? Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Chichi,
Okay.
so
can you double click on your screen to bring it into full mode?
Yes, yes, that's good. I just
Yeah.
did that now.
That works. Thanks.
Correct.
Because it is in full mode, it shouldn't be. Okay, fine.
all right, thank you guys. So this is the interface that you have. There are some things on my own Power BI desktop that I have set up already, which I also encourage us. In fact, it's not even encourage us. If you don't do it, you are going to run into problem. So which I will encourage us to do. So now the first thing is that you go to your file and file. So once you get your file, you can just come to options and settings. But the easiest way to do it now, which was not available as at last month, that was why I said that Power BI is a continuous project. Updates will come every month that makes things easy. So before you come to file, Then you come to options and settings. Then you do everything that you need to do. Then you come to options. Then you adjust some settings there that will suit your specific need. So these are the settings that we have available now. But now you usually have a setting icon right here that you can click on, and it will take you to that interface straight away. So so on your settings now, you have all these settings available for you. You have your data load, your Power Query, direct query, and all these settings. And then it is of two sides. You have the global side of things and then the current file. So whatever setting you are implementing on current file, we actually work on the current PBIX file that you have opened. But other things that you will do on under the global setting will affect every PBIX project or file that you are working on. So you have your data load setting, you have your Power Query editor, and all of those things. So the part I really want us to actually do now is these preview features. So under preview features, if you check your own, I'm sure that you don't have all of these things checked. Now, when a new update is added to Power BI Desktop, it is here. It will not be ticked. For example, this new card visual came about just 2 months ago. So a new update, when we say it's preview, that means they are testing it out for users like you and I to see how it's going to be. Then if you want to actually experience it and play with the new feature, you have to come to this preview feature and then you enable it so that you can then experience that new feature and enjoy it for your own day-to-day use of Power BI also. So if you don't have some features in your own Power BI desktop, you probably have some things not checked here. So I will encourage us, if you are doing it with me, check everything except Spanish language, unless you understand Spanish. So I don't let me assume maybe there are people that speak Spanish language here. So you can check everything except Spanish language. So once you do that now, especially shape map, you should do that then, because when you are trying to create map and then you don't have this checked, map will not be created in your own Power BI desktop. So after you have checked everything, you can just click on OK, and then it will probably prompt you to restart your Power BI. So anytime you add a new feature to it, it will prompt you to restart and close it back before you can actually see that feature appearing in your Power BI desktop. But because I have it already set up in my own, so there is really no need for me to close. So let's just jump straight into this class, get data. Now, people can get data from various sources, like I said. So the interface where you get that is this. So if you go to click on get data now, you see all the various data sources that you can get data from. Most common one and the easiest one being Excel. Someone is trying to get my attention.
No, someone came in. Don't worry, we've admitted the person in.
All right, thank you. So get data. There are a number of sources that you can get data from. These are some of them. There is more. You see there is Excel. You can either use Excel here. You can use Excel here. Chichi that was talking about this part being small. So if you want to get Excel, you can click either here, or you can go up to get data. You can still see Excel. Same thing for SQL Server from blank query, or try sample data sets. So these are other sources too that you can connect to. One Lake recently, when they launched Microsoft Fabric, then you have SQL Server and every other sources that you can get data from. So and then this format pane switcher now is customizable now. You can customize it to your choice. So these are the things I want by default in my own pane. So I can put performance analyzer too if I want. You see that it will increase this performance analyzer now, sync slicer and all of that. So don't worry, in case you are seeing just three in your own and you are seeing multiple ones in my own. So that's because that's the way I had configured my my pin to look like. So I will just take out the things that will make it less. So if you want to add, you can click here and add into your pin. So I'll close this now, and of course you can close this. You can have this icon here where you still have your data. So once you have data in your Power BI and you have data loaded, this place you have data. You see that you haven't done any data yet. Then you have your build your visual tool. So build this your visual tool. You also have access to do some few things there. And then, of course, you have your filter pane. So, so let's go to today's business, which is
Sorry, sir. Sorry to cut you. I'm so sorry.
yeah.
What's the function of the paint switcher?
Pane switcher. When you are working, you get into it now. Don't worry. So you
Okay,
see,
all right.
yeah.
Thank you.
So you will get into it now. So there is a pane where you have your data set. There is a pane where you have where you build your visual. You can access these various type of visuals. You see there are various visuals.
Okay,
So
okay.
you can access it also here. So when you have
All
data
right.
set, you will see it come up, and then this is where you do your format. When you over on them, you will see what each of them means. This is
All right.
data.
All
You
right.
have the-
Thank you.
yeah. So and then there is three views by default. This is where you build your report. This is your real estate space. So think of it like you are trying to build a house. This is where you build your report, and then this is where you have your data view, data that will be powering that report, and of course this is where you have your modeling view. So when you over on each of them, you can definitely see the name: model view, data view, and report view. And then when you switch to any of those views, you will notice that the tabs up here are different. They are different. When I'm on report view, you see what we have. When I'm on data view, you see what we have also. Then when I'm on data modeling too, they all looks different, but they are still going to look different if we get more data into our uh, Power BI desktop. Now, I believe that we all know how to connect to Excel. Response, please.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So so let's just go to get data. Now, when we talk about Power BI is just a tool, but inside of Power BI there is something else called Power Query, and that is the engine room of data transformation. You know, I had mentioned earlier that we have extract, then you have transform, and then you load. So transformation means you are processing and organizing your extracted data so that it is usable. Either you are extracting it from Excel, from SQL, from web, from wherever you want to extract from, then you have to transform it. Because in real life, somebody can spell Francis as FRCES, depends. It might be correct, it might be wrong. It may be in lowercase, I may want it in uppercase. It may be in a number format because there is also what's it called? Format to data type. So you also do that. So now let's get data from Excel file, which is the most popular source. So typically, what you do is you click on Excel workbook, and then you can then get data into your Power BI desktop. So I'll click on get data Excel. So I will just navigate to my download folder. So if I come to my download folder now, okay, not here, download folder, then I can see Superstore data. AMD, have you sent the data set?
Yes, she has.
All right, thank you, Akilat. So this is the data set I want to, then I'll click on open. So once you click on open, you have a new interface now. On the back end, Power BI is trying to navigate that Excel file, and then you have this interface where you can then choose to load your data or you transform your data. So I will select the Excel file now. So I'm seeing a preview of the data now. Then you can scroll across it to see what is going on with your data set, if it is the right data set. So if you are sure that it's data set, you can then check this, and then you see that immediately I have this checked, then this is no longer grayed out. So you have your load, transform, and cancel. In case you want to change it, you can just cancel. So I'll click on load. And then once I click on load, I will still stay on Power BI. Remember that I mentioned that there is also Power Query. Power Query is the engine room for your data transformation. It is available on Power BI. It is available on Dynamic 365. It's available on Excel. In fact, it's available on Azure now. So Power Query is where you clean your data. So what I did now is I extracted from Excel and then I loaded into Power BI. I didn't do any transformation. Are we following?
Yes, sir.
Now, there will be reward cases, or in fact, is rare, if not impossible, that you just extract and then load. Is not likely going to, I'm not likely going to experience that in real world, because what you always find in real world is that probably somebody has entered first name into a column that is supposed to be holding their date of birth, or somebody has entered their favorite color in a column that is supposed to be holding their gross income. So these are the kind of issues that you experience. So it is your responsibility as a data analyst to actually spend your time in the transformation phase. So in reward, most of your time will be spent on data cleaning and data transformation. Data cleaning involves that, okay, these columns contain the exact data set that I want, or the data type I want, and then transformation is that, okay, is already in the shape that I want. So what I did now is that I did extract, I jumped transformation, and I loaded it into Power BI desktop. Now, before I continue now, the person that asked about the format page, you see that now we have something here in our builder, in our data pane. We have the data sets, and then of course I can do a drop down, and I will see all the columns of data. I can expand depending on what you need or the space that you need. So you see that we have all the columns here, and then you can come to here to build your visual and anything that you want to do, and then you format and anything. So now that I have my data set here, I can then come to this other views, which is the data view. So I can see it in tabular format right here in Power BI. And you have some certain information that you can see. You see that, okay, it contains 9,194 rows. You can scroll across and then you can do so many things with Power BI. But before you come to Power BI desktop, where you begin to do your data visualization, you must have spent majority of your time doing data cleaning and transformation. Then you do also data modeling. So that's what we'll be going next week. So let's not jump gun now. So let's just focus on the agenda for this class. So where you'll be doing your data modeling. So we'll focus more on that in our next class so you can see your data set. So that is one way to bring in data sets to Power BI. So another way is, now that you have it here, say for example is a reward data set, and then data set is not clean, and then you need to clean this data set. What you can do is that on this home tab, you have your transform data. You have your transform data. So you can click on transform data. You can do the drop down. So you see when you over on it, it's showing us some certain information. Use Power Query Editor to connect, prepare, and transform data. So I'll do this drop down now, and then I'll click on transform data. So if I click on transform data now, it's going to open up Power Query for me. This is where you now do the work of data cleaning and data transformation. So this is where you do data cleaning and data transformation. And if you notice from this your taskbar now, this is where we are coming from, which is Power BI desktop. But there is Power Query that is embedded in it. So which is what we launched when we come to transform data. So you will notice that with one PBI Power BI, what you are working on, you will see two, one being the Power BI desktop, and then the other one being the Power Query, where you do your data cleaning. So after you finish every your data cleaning, then you can always close. There is close, there is apply, and there is close and apply. So close and apply. So once you do close and apply, it will then bring you back to Power BI desktop, which is where you can then continue your work, where you are doing your data analysis, data visualization, and everything that you want to do. So whatever transformation that you did on the back end, which is the Power Query end, is going to be applied to your data set here, so that you can then continue to work it. But as best practice, I don't encourage us just loading straight into Power BI. So I'm going to delete this now. So what I did was to over on this, and then I have this ellipsis right here, and then I click this, then I delete from model. So that will delete this table completely from me. So I will try to bring back that data set now. So as against getting data from here, so the best practice is actually go to transform data, where you can then click on transform data again, and then it will just launch Power Query for you. So So it is from that Power Query, just like you can do from Power BI Desktop, you can connect to any source that you want. So once you have a Power Query open, this is what you are going to have. So far, you don't have any data set in here. So like that other one also, instead of get data in Power Query is new source. So you can click on new source and then you can see all the sources that is available here. So just like you have it on Power BI Desktop, you have get data. So if you click on more, you can get other sources of data. You see, these are all the sources of data that you can get data from as of today. By next month, they may add something new. You can get it from file. You can get it from these various file. If you have a table in your file, you can get it. If it's a folder, if it's a JSON file or XML file, you can get it from there. And also you can get your data set from databases, SQL database, Oracle database, MySQL, Postgre database, Amazon Redshift, that's AWS, or any database that you can think of. So these are the various data sources that organizations are storing their data. Then Microsoft Fabric, which is a new baby for Microsoft. Then Power Platform. Then Power Platform is Power BI, Power Automate, and Power Apps. Then on Azure too, which is in Microsoft's cloud, just like AWS. And then these are the Azure sources that you can connect into. Then your online services, Dynamic 365, SharePoint list, GitHub, Azure DevOps, Databricks, and any other online services that is currently available for Power BI. And then you have other sources too that you can connect to. You can connect to web, you can connect to any of these sources. So you can access that either from either your Power BI desktop or Power Query. So to open Power Query, come to transform data. So that will take us to Power Query. So you can go back to Power BI desktop by closing and apply. So instead of get data, you need a new data source, which is new source. So you can click on that. You see that you have the same thing here. So if you click on more, you get the same thing. And then you can then navigate to any source that you want to get and fetch your data. So I can easily come here now and come to Excel workbook and fetch the exact same file and then open. So here now, you just get this interface, select your data set, and then you just have OK. So you have OK, not load or transform because you are already in Power Query. So that is if you are loading straight from Power Query. But if you are loading from Power BI desktop, what you can do is you see now I have this like a warning saying apply changes or start changes. Now you always get this warning if you have a Power Query open. So Power Query is
Mic check, Francis. I think Tony T has a question. Your hand was raised.
okay.
Yeah, it's actually Elizabeth Motola. So sorry to take you back. Can you take that process you did now for going to transform and moving to the next place, please?
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Right.
Are you watching Yoruba movie?
No, I'm not. They're watching Boy in my house.
Okay.
So you come to get data or Excel workbook. So if you click on Excel workbook, then you select your data, then you click on open. Then if you are doing it from Power BI desktop, it's going to give you this interface where it's going to ask you either to load or transform. So I will check this now. So if I load, it will just stay on Power BI desktop. But if I click on transform data, it will open up Power Query for me. Then I can do my transformation in here. So are you okay now?
Thank you. Yes, I got it. Thank you.
Yeah. So you can get to Power Query. Either you come to Power Query, you bring in your data set, or you are in Power BI desktop, you are bringing your data set, depending on where you are bringing it from. If you open your Power Query first before you now connect your data source, it's fine. You don't need to do any transform data. It's already in where you are going to transform straight. But if you go to Power BI desktop, it's just going to ask you if you want to load it or you want to transform it. If your data set is clean, then load it. If it's not, then you come to Power Query where you cook soup. So this is where you get all your ingredients to cook your data sets and make it available in a form that is suitable for analytics. So now we have connected to Excel file. I plan to use three other sources to demonstrate getting data because I believe that nobody is upskilling not to make money. We are all upskilling to add value to ourselves. Okay, maybe I like money. Let me sound that we are adding value to ourselves. Just to make money. Everybody's trying to make money. So you come here and then you do all your data cooking and all of that. So I'm going to demonstrate connecting to other data sources. There are hundreds of sources that you can connect to because when you go for interviews, one of the most popular questions is after you introduce yourself is that, okay, how many data sources have you connected into? Most of the time they want to test if you are connected to SQL or if you are connected to other data sources. And then or even the web or anything. So, but if you can brag that, okay, I've connected to Excel, I've connected to SQL, I've connected to SharePoint, I've connected to web, I've connected to Oracle database, then you know that, okay, this person know something. So beyond Excel, I will show us how to connect to SQL Server. I will show us how to connect to the internet to fetch data from the web, and I will also show us how to get data from SharePoint list because these are various repositories where you are extracting from. So all we are doing now is extracting. By the time we move to transformation, I will let us know. Are we following?
Yes, sir.
Or we should not bother about data sources. I will just
Let's bother about it.
Please bother about it. It's very important.
okay. So Irimide, I know that this is Power BI class, but sorry, I'm using SQL. So if you are interested in SQL course, talk to Irimide. She's the only one. I'm doing advertisement for Irimide now. She's not talking. No. So
Hey, well, please let them learn Power BI first before they move to SQL.
so
But we can do a bit of it.
yes, I have my SQL open. I'm not sure if you have one on your computer now, but typically, if you want to connect to other sources, let's say we are connected to Excel now. Now we are trying to connect to SQL Server. So if you click on SQL Server, then it's going to give you another interface. You will notice that the interface when I connected to SQL Server is different from the one for Excel file. So you need your server name to connect to SQL Server, and also you need your database name, which is optional, or just to make things specific, you can add it. Now, at this point, people talk about extract, transform, and load. You will notice that there is data connectivity mode, there is import mode, and there is direct query mode. What we have been doing, anytime you connect to Excel file, the data connectivity mode by default is import mode, unless you are connecting to Excel file in the cloud. So, but if your Excel file is sitting on your computer, whatever import you are doing, what you did is extract, transform, and load. But when it comes to other data sources like SQL Server, there are other type of data connectivity mode. We have import mode. As you can see, by default, it's always be on import. What import means is that from wherever the data set is sitting, is going to be imported into your Power BI as against direct query. Direct query means that the data set is going to sit wherever it is being stored, but not be imported into your Power BI. Now, when you work, you realize that some PBIX file can be, the size of them can be kilobytes, some of them can be 10 megabytes, depending on the size of the data set that you have imported into your Power BI project. So when you save your PBIX file at the end of the day, the size of the PBIX file is dependent on the amount of data sets that you are imported from your Excel file or from any other source. So when it comes to other sources, they will ask you if you are doing import mode or you are doing other mode of connectivity. So in this use case now, you are connecting to SQL. Now, there are implications for Ilemide. I don't know if I should be going into tips for their exam, like the last cohort. Um, I need an answer, please.
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Okay. So there is a difference between import mode and direct query mode. So I had explained import mode. Now, direct query, they have implications. The choice of mode that you're going to be using is dependent on what you want to achieve. If your data set is actually small, you can always import it. Then if there is no question of maybe regulation or security or issue of data governance or data privacy, then you can also use import mode. But if there is a restraint for data privacy, data security, data governance. For example, now you do not expect that somebody that is working in a bank will be able to import your sensitive information into their PBIX file. That would be dangerous. That would be dangerous. And it is suable, really. So, in that kind of environment, now if you are connecting to a production database in a bank, you are never going to do import. What you are going to be doing is going to be direct query. So that direct query is just giving like a connection string in your Power BI PBIX file. But the actual data set is still sitting on the bank server. Does that make sense, please?
I
No.
think so.
You're on point, sir.
Okay.
No, repeat that again.
Okay. When you are connecting to Excel file, you are doing extract, transform, and load. But when you are loading, there are two connectivity modes, import and direct query. But when you are connected to your Excel file, nobody is going to ask you if you are doing import or direct query. The default mode is actually import mode. That means import and export now. You are exporting something from Niger to Nigeria. I think I should use Niger now so that I don't export war. You are exporting something from US to Nigeria. So that means you are moving it entirely from US to Nigeria. Direct query does not move it. Whatever your data set will still stay in US, but you can connect to it. Just like there are people I can call anybody in the US now on my WhatsApp. So see that as direct query. So direct query will keep the data set in the original data source and not move it. So if you are worried about data privacy, data security, data governance, and all those things, or Data Protection Act, there is Nigerian Data whatever Act now. If you are worried about all those things, then you are going to be using direct query. Also, there is a limit to the amount of data set that you can import into your Power BI. There's a limit. So when you are worried about privacy, when you are worried about the size of the data set you are working with, for example, banks generate up to 10 million rows of data in a day. You can imagine how huge that is. Of course, you are not going to store that data set in your laptop so that they will not come and rob your house, and then you know how people can be. So in fact, your laptop is going to crash. You cannot try it. So when the data set is so huge or you are concerned about privacy, that is when you opt for direct query.
Okay.
And you know that in an organization where you have a large data set, I think Excel has just about a limit of 1 million rows or so. But where you have a bank that is generating almost 10 million rows of data in a day, of course, they are not going to store their data sets in Excel files. So those are the limitations of Excel file, and that is why SQL is important data analyst tool. So if you are interested in SQL, you can then talk to Remedy after a Power BI class, and then you can enroll for SQL. So SQL is structured query language. So that is that about connectivity mode, import mode, and direct query. I know it may sound like too much of information now, but I'm sure that when you are doing your reading, you are going to come across it. Maybe some people have already come across it already, but it will begin to make more sense to us when we start working or reading. So you have import mode or direct query mode. Import mode, if your data set is small and if there is no data privacy issue. Direct query, your data set is large and there is privacy and security issue. Are we on the same page?
Yes.
So, okay,
Yes.
all right, thank you. So now we are trying to connect to an SQL server. Now I have an SQL server installed on my laptop, but typically in real world, you'll be provided the server name, your organization, the IT department will provide you the server name that you're going to be connecting with, and then the database name, and then you can then select the connectivity mode that you want. So in my case now, can you see my screen, please?
Yes.
Okay, so this is Microsoft
Yes.
SQL
Yes.
Server. This is SSMS. So these are various databases, and inside every database, there are tables. So you can see there are tables here. So these are several tables. You can see account, currency, customer, department, and every table that you can imagine. So you can imagine what a database of a bank is. So this is one sample database. Then this is another one. Then you can query your tables within your database and all of that. So now to connect to this database on this server now, you can just click on connect here. So I will connect on to database engine. So what I'm trying to fetch now is the server name. Remember that to connect to SQL server in your Power BI, you need the server name. So you have to provide. And if you over on this icon, you can either use the server name or the port number. Either the server name or the port number will be provided in your organization. So now in my case now, I'm going to fetch that server name, which is this. I'll do Control C, Control A, Control C to copy it. Then if I'm connected to SQL, I can click on select. But I already fetched that server name. So I will come to my Power BI and I will paste the server name. So once I paste the server name, I can just click on OK. Then I can then navigate to wherever interface I want, or I can specify the database name. Now, even though Microsoft is saying that it is optional, but when you know that you have hundreds of database, you wouldn't want to be scrolling through hundreds of database. You always want to specify your database. I want to connect to this database now, Contoso Retail EW. So I can click on import mode. So if I click on OK now, with my data connectivity on import, then I have another copy of the data set in my Power BI file. It will still stay on the server, on the database, but I also have another copy. Then I can then, if that is, since I already told the implication of it, then if that is the case, you should then switch to direct query. So if you want to direct query, just select direct query and then you click on OK and then you move on. So, but another thing you can do is that we have let me show us now. On this SQL server now, let me say I'm coming to this Contoso Retail database. Then I have this facts table. So I'll query this table now. So you can see that we have about how many columns now? We have about more than 15 columns. Yeah. So, but in case where I know that I do not necessarily need all these columns, you can always use a customized or the query or the script that you generated yourself. Now I had edited that, so I'm just going to use all of this now. So I can copy this SQL query now. Control C. Then I go back to my Power BI. Then I'll come to this advanced option. Then I do the drop down. Then I can then paste that SQL statement in here. And I can do OK. So let me keep it on import mode so I won't take too much time here. I don't want to spoon feed us. You should actually go far and beyond to get more knowledge. I can't give you everything, but the important things I'll point them out. Then I'll create some tests in you. I believe that's if you are hungry for knowledge. Then you then go about to see how you can acquire that knowledge. So at this point now, I can click on OK. So to connect to SQL Server database now, you need your server name. You'll be provided, but since you are learning, you can always install SQL Server in your own computer so that you can use it. So the database name, you know the name of database, and also the data connectivity mode, either import or direct query. And if you know that, okay, you want to use that table just the way it is, the way on the server, then you can click on OK. But if you still want to adjust it, you can actually paste your SQL statement or SQL query in here, and then you click on OK. So that is how to connect to SQL Server. So I can click on OK. We can see the table in here now. Then OK. So that is how to connect to SQL Server. So we've connected to Excel file. We've connected also to SQL Server. I hope you are not bored already.
No, I'm not, because this thing you just did now, I actually battled with it for like 14 days before I was able to do it.
Yeah. So how much are you going to pay me
Connecting
now?
to an SQL server.
How much are you going
Let's
to
get
pay me
it
now?
done.
I just saved you 14 days. 2 weeks.
So that SQL statement you did, I didn't do that. And I was battling with it for a long time. So I wanted to connect my Power
Yeah,
BI
you
to
don't have
Postgres
to use the
database.
SQL statements all the time, really. Let me do it
No,
without
but
SQL.
according to your, okay, let me get it right. According to your explanation, he said I could just specify the columns I wanted to use. So in that case, I didn't want to use all the informations available in the database. I just wanted to work with the total user of a particular product because it was a
Okay.
fintech company. So probably if I had used the statement, it could have worked better for me and faster.
Yes, yes. What you are asking now, I think, is beyond the scope of this class, because now you can actually do your data cleaning and data transformation inside of your SQL. There is this thing we always say: when you are doing data cleaning, do it as upstream as possible. When we say upstream, there is a data source, then there is Power BI. Your data source could be Excel, could be SQL, could be anything. So it is better that you do your cleaning in SQL as much as possible. I can remove any column here now. I can delete any column that I don't want, really, in my data preparation. But
Yes.
if I can
Yes.
use a SQL query that will just bring those columns here, then I don't have to stress my Power Query to do that removing for me. Are we on the same page now?
Yes, I get you, sir. I get you.
Please,
Can you do the
everybody,
process
feel
again?
free to ask your questions. That is why you are here. I just say somebody
Can you do
for
the
2 days.
process? Can you do the process of, can you do that process again?
Okay. So if you have any gray area, please feel free to interrupt me, ask, and then that's why you are here. So is anybody trying to get my attention? I should go ahead.
Yes, I was asking if you can do the process you just did.
Okay.
You can do on the
So
phone.
this is my SQL. So typically in your Power BI desktop, Power Query, as the case may be, you come to a new source. We know that our source is SQL Server. So once you click on that, you have this interface. Then you are going to provide the server name or the database name, or the two, as the case may be. But most importantly, your server name. So if you are working in an organization, they will give you the server name. Then you connect to your server. Or if you are working on your own local machine now, you can always fetch your server. So I want to fetch my own server now. I can click on this, then I will then fetch my server name here. So you'll be provided, all you have to do is to paste or type the server name into this place. So you type your server name, and then I want to specify the database that I want. But for the sake of demonstration now, I won't specify that. So I can always specify it here. And then if I have a custom SQL statement I want to use, I can come to advanced option and paste it in here. So then I can then click on OK. Click on OK. If I click on OK now, it's just going to navigate through the entire database that I have on my server. You see, these are all the databases that I have. So I can then navigate manually and start looking for it. Trust me, you don't want to do this in real life, because you have over 200 tables that they are going to look similar in name, in everything. So it is better that you sort it upstream and go to your SQL and do it. So I can select any table of choice. You know, this interface now is now similar to the interface of our SQL if you are loading through SQL. So I can then select any data set that I want. So let me select, okay, I don't use this database. This is AdventureWork, very popular database. I'm using Contoso. Then I can come here and select my fact table, which is a table in this database. And essentially, the database is just collection of tables. Then I can click on OK. So now the time is going to take to load what I did now and what I did earlier is going to be different, because what I did earlier was just to specify that I am loading just 1,000 rows. Now, notice something. The first one I did with custom query, it is stored as query 1. Then the apply step is just source. When I didn't specify the column, I have source and I also have navigation. It is like you are going to let's say you are going to Abeokuta. You can just go from Lagos to Abeokuta straight, or you just say that okay, you are going to Abeokuta, then you now have to go to Ibadan first, then from Ibadan you go to Abeokuta. Definitely that is more stressful. So if you do it with your SQL query, then it is going to stress the machine less. It will be less stressful for the machine. So that is why you always want to do your transformation or the minimal data cleaning that you want to do upstream, up the ladder. That's on your SQL database. So we have connected to two data sources now. I don't want to go beyond the scope of this class because I'm already talking about performance and optimization. So we have connected from SQL, we have connected from Excel. Are we good?
Yes, we are good. I'm good. I'm good.
Okay. Please feel free to ask questions. Let me show you my face so that you will not be scared to ask questions. I'm happy if you're asking questions. Question makes me happy. Are we good?
Okay, sorry, let me ask you.
Yeah,
When
I'm good.
you were doing the SQL Server thing, like you were saying, there was import. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
I said when you were doing the SQL Server thing, there was two options for the data connection. There was import and data query. So if you had picked data query like you were explaining, what would have happened?
Okay. Nothing will happen really. It's just going to show us the data set in Power BI desktop, but the data set is not essentially moving. So let me break it down this way. If I actually do direct query as against import mode, if I send you the PBIX file when I do the import mode, you have a copy of the data set. That's it. But if I do direct query and I send you the PBIX file, the copy of the data set will not be there. Does that make sense? Hello?
Okay, are you saying that naturally when you use Excel, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Yes,
Hello,
I can
can you
hear
hear
you.
me? Okay, are you saying that when you use Excel to do that?
Go ahead, please. Can anybody hear?
I know I noticed
Our
Power
network
that
is
is now
breaking.
Power BI.
It's the network is breaking.
Adejoke, I think your network was breaking while you were talking.
Okay, I quickly have a question. I was thinking probably we can give CSV a shot too.
Yes, it's essentially the same thing like Excel.
Okay.
So let me see if I
Yeah,
can.
I get right.
I think so that I will not waste time. You can try CSV yourself now. Just the same method you used to get your Excel file. That's how you get your CSV file. So Adejoke, can you hear us now?
Okay.
Your network is breaking. So maybe our network is bad, and if you can hear us, let me still try and answer that question for the benefit of everybody. So this is it. If you connect with uh, Excel file, which I say by default is always import mode, you and I send that PBIX file. Let's say I send it to Adejoke now, or I send it to Tonia. You have a copy of that data set. You know that what you connected to is Excel file. So even though what you have is your PBIX file, you are still going to have a copy of that data set. Anywhere you take that PBIX file to, you have a copy of that Excel file in your data set. But if I connected to direct query as against import mode, and I send the PBIX file to Tony or Adejoke, they will have the PBIX file, but they cannot access the data set. And that is where the data security and privacy comes in. So if they open the Power BI file, they'll be able to open it, but they will be prompted to provide the server name. And most times in organization, the login details and also the password. And that's the level of security. So that is why I said that you use direct query when you are worried about security. Take the PBIX file to Heaven. They cannot access that data set because it's on direct query mode. Does that make sense, everybody?
Yes, I think just like
Yeah,
you
it
said,
makes sense.
query will make data integrity and safety, something like
Yeah.
that. I get what
Yes.
you're saying.
Yes.
All right, no problem.
So that's just the interesting thing with direct query and import mode. So now our focus here is introduce us to transform data, and we have used two sets. So if you go to any interview now, be confident to say that you've connected to SQL Server before. Sometimes it is not your skill set that will get you the job, it is your confidence. Even if you are saying rubbish, be confident about it. So now they will ask you that, as me an interview now, how do you run me through how you connect to SQL Server? How will I answer that? Okay, depending on the server, be it Microsoft server or Oracle server or any database that I want to connect to, I need the server name, then I will specify the database name also. So all you have to do is just to picture that interface where you are trying to connect to SQL server in your head, where you know that you need the server name to access it. And in an organization, let me even show us that. So let me continue sharing my screen now. So I'm in my Power Query now. So let's say I want to connect to SQL Server now. Then typically, if I do this for an organization, so you just picture this place that okay, to connect to the SQL Server, I need my server name, which I believe I will be provided with. Then I can provide my database name. Then the question they will always ask you is to differentiate between they are asking you so that they will see if you are going to talk about import mode and direct query. So, and how you answer it will depend on if they are going to ask you further question. If you answer it such a way that you already know the implication of import mode and direct query, they will not ask question about it. They know that okay, this person know what he's saying. But if you answer it in a way that will ask them that okay, how many type of connectivity mode do they have? They will ask you that. But if I answer it, okay, I will get my server name, which I will then paste into the interface. Then after that, I will specify my data connectivity mode, either direct query or import mode. Import mode if the data set is small and I'm not worried about data security and data privacy. But I will opt for direct query if what I need is actually concerned with data security, privacy, and all of that, or if the data set is too large. So if you answer this way I answer now, they are not going to ask you further question about how to connect to SQL Server. Are we good?
Yes, I'm good with that.
Okay. Then to add icing to your cake, you can say that you can actually even go to the advanced option where you can paste your SQL statement so that you can niche down and be specific as to the amount of information that you want to actually bring into your Power BI to work on. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Please come again.
Makes a lot of sense.
So I'm just trying
Please
to run
come
us
again.
through how to I'm just trying to run us through how to connect to SQL Server. So you get your server name, you specify your database name, then you decide the connectivity mode that you want, import or direct query, and then also you now paste your SQL statements if you have one. Most of the time, for best practices, you are supposed to use your SQL query. So that is essentially it, and then you can then click on OK. So if you click on OK and you're working in an organization, this one now is an anonymous database. After specifying your server and everything, you still be prompted to use your login details, your username and your password. So you will have that if you're working in an organization. So that is that. So now I want to also show us how to connect to the web. So, like I said, there are multiple sources. You see, there is there is Excel, there is test and CSV. So, for the person that asks about CSV, this is how to do it. Just come to this place, go to CSV, and then you can follow through the navigation. You specify your CSV file. I'm already doing it. So, let me just complete it. So the only file that you will see is file that is stored in CSV format. So let me pick this John data for example, and I click on open. So it's very straightforward, just like Excel too. Then I click on OK. Are we good?
Yes.
So very straightforward. So another source I want to
Yes,
demonstrate.
What are those
Oh.
green those things that look like bar chart? Is it bar chart or whatever?
Yeah, don't
Those
worry, we'll
green
get
stuff.
there. We'll get there.
Okay.
You are not seeing it in your own.
I'm using my phone, so I really not.
Okay, don't worry, we'll get there.
It's not showing in our own, even on the laptop.
Yeah, don't worry, we'll get there. You'll get there. So we have connected to flat file, we have connected to to Excel, we have connected to CSV file, we have connected to SQL Server. So another source I want us to play with is the web. So for example, now I can come to my browser. Anybody can come to their browser. Let's say you have a table sitting somewhere on the internet. So for example, now let me say I want to use list of the states in Nigeria. List of states in Nigeria. Let's say I want it as a table and I want to use it in my Power BI. So if I come to the internet now, of course, we can always get them. So let me click on this Wikipedia, for example. So this is Wikipedia now. If I scroll through now, I'm sure the states of Nigeria will be somewhere in here. Oh, I'm mistaken. It's not here. A list of states and capital in Nigeria. So I will just scroll down now. Okay, I think I have it now. So if I come to this link now, you see that this is a table. This is a table, and you know that data is in tables in their tabular format. I want to use this table in my project. I can always get it. I can connect to this source. So, but what you need is that you need your internet connection to be on. So to do that now, I just have to fetch this URL. I'll copy it. I'll paste it in the chat now so that you can use it. So, Princess, you are lost. You are my mentor. You cannot be lost. Though. I just saw the chat now. Princess, are you okay?
I'm okay now.
Okay. You know you are my mentor, so you cannot be lost. Though. So that's that. So if you want to connect to any website that has table in them, you just come to that particular place. I'm using Wikipedia for example now. So that's the link. You copy the link, then you come back to your Power BI, then you come to news source, then you come to web.
Sir, is it just me? Your screen is so small here. Is it just my end?
Tap on your screen if you are using a phone.
Double tap.
Yes.
No, it was fine before. I've been on system. But now I'm seeing so much like,
Are you good now?
I don't know, maybe it's from my end.
Should be, because nothing changed.
Is she the only one or
It's
everyone?
better now.
Everybody? Okay. So you can go to any internet source. So all you have to do is to fetch the URL link, then you go back to your Power BI, then you go to new source or get data. If you are doing it from Power BI desktop, new source, get data, anyone. So get data, you always see web there. So you click on, you come here, you click on web. So once you click on web, then you have an interface where you can then paste that URL. So I will do Control V, then I will do OK. So it's just going to navigate to that website, to that internet source, to see if there are tables there. To see if there are tables there. So you see, this is looking like your Excel now. On the back end, Power BI has done the navigation for you. And there is table view, there is web view. So if you switch to web view, you can see that what we have on our internet is what we have on Power BI now. But most of the time, you practically don't need this web view. It's just like give you overview of what you have on that web. So all we need is the table view. So once you do that, you have this interface. You see, you have several tables: table 1, table 2, table blah blah blah. So and you already know the table you are interested in. So all you have to do is just to scroll across every table you have from that URL link and see the one that actually talks to what you want. Boom. So table 2 stuck to it. So I can just click on select. Then I'll click on OK. So now I have all the states of Nigeria and their capital in our Power BI. So we have done flat file, we've done SQL, we've done the web. Are we good? But something is wrong with this table, right?
Yeah, it's not fine.
What is wrong with it?
I think the columns are, is it columns or rows, the way it's pasted?
Yeah. So exactly, there is no column header or column title. Row 1 is state and capital. That's what's supposed to be our title. Is that not?
Yeah.
Exactly. So
Yes.
that is why I said that in real world, you will not always have it in the most usable way. And that is what we are going to be moving into. So what all we have been doing is to getting data from multiple sources. So when I will jump into data transformation, like I said, I will draw our attention to it. So that is that for. So the last source I want to show us now is SharePoint list. Now I'm trying to say these things because typically, if you have the basics, you can do anything, but you need to pass your interview stage. One thing that will differentiate you from somebody that is doing self-learning and somebody that has paid for this class is to be able to scale through interviews. And I've been at both sides of the table before, where I'm interviewing someone and when I'm being interviewed. So I'm trying to point us in the direction that will make things faster for us. So you now know how to connect to several sources. Now the last one is SharePoint list. SharePoint list is a Microsoft kind of database tool, unlike Server. So I had created a SharePoint list. So let me navigate there now. So this is a SharePoint. Now this is the same data that I have in my SharePoint list. So all I have to do is to select this list now. Then it's going to open up. So this is it's the same table, just that in this case now is available in a SharePoint. So all I have to do is to actually connect to this SharePoint list. Now, for example, say you are trying to automate things, like okay, I want to connect my Power BI to a data set and I want my Power BI to be updated automatically. SharePoint list is one of the options available for you, such that you connect your SharePoint list as your data source and then you build your report in Power BI, then you publish it, then you can set up your schedule refresh such that if a new list or a new row is added to this list, it automatically reflects in your Power BI. So let me not take us through that long process. So just know that there is SharePoint online list. So what I will do also to do that is that I will copy this URL here. Now, SharePoint is also, if you are outside the organization, you cannot connect to it. So you need the login details of your organization to access it. So come back to Power BI, then I'll come to new sources, then there are other sources. Excuse me, please let me get water. Yeah. Sorry guys, I'm back. So like I said, there are multiple sources that you can connect to. So I'm trying to connect to other source now. Can you hear me?
Mhm.
Yes.
So I can okay. I can just come to these online services and then what I want to connect to is SharePoint online list. Or if you know where you can just search here. So you can connect to SharePoint folder, SharePoint list, SharePoint
I'm
online list.
sorry. You just start again because I'm kind of lost now. I know you said from new source to other source. That's where I got stuck.
Okay. Now, is that you use new source if you are in Power Query or if
Mm-hmm.
you are in Power BI desktop or you use Get Data.
Okay.
Essentially, I think it is the same interface, just that where you are connecting from is different.
Mm.
So I always like to do it from Power Query. So new source, then I can click on more. So from more, you can see all the available data source that you have. Then
Mm.
I know that I want to connect to SharePoint. I know it's under online services. So let's say people that do Google Analytics, you can connect to Google Analytics. People that do use Zoho for project management, you can connect to it or any data source. So if you don't know it, you can come to search here and type share. So everything that looks like share will come up. Let's say I want to connect to an Azure data source. I can type on Azure. Everything that has to do with Azure will come. Let's say I want to connect to Google Sheet. Any Google stuff will come here. We are connecting Google Sheets, Google Analytics, Google BigQuery. Anyone you can connect to it. Let's say I want to connect to AWS. I think his name here is Redshift. Yes, Amazon Redshift or IBM or Oracle. So if I click on Oracle, for example, now it's just going to show us just the same thing like for Microsoft SQL, where you need your server name and blah blah blah. So, but let me not stress us that way. You see your server name, import mode, blah blah blah. It's the same thing. You can connect to any data source that you want. So now I know I want to connect to my SharePoint, new source, more. Then I will share for SharePoint. Then I'm using online list. So I'll select online list, then I click on connect. Then I know you don't have SQL SharePoint list, so don't worry about it. Just for honesty, just know that there is SharePoint list that you can connect to. So I will go back to my SharePoint list. You will be provided the list, then you also
Hi.
be given access to copy this link.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, please.
Okay, for this SharePoint list, what's the difference between the folder, the list, and the online? Because I've tried to connect to SharePoint before, and after after clicking the URL link, I keep getting errors. Basically, it didn't work out.
Hmm.
So I'm trying to see is it because the difference between the file and everything. I can't remember the code, the error code it was giving me. I can't basically remember again. So I
Okay.
just wanted to know, like, based on what you've done again, because I'll try and do it again. I would, because I know that I'll probably still get the same error. So I'll probably
Okay.
screen munch the error and send to you, and can see why that error is. Because I tried to Google the error, I could not find like an headway with it.
Okay. Uh, Adejoke, right?
Yes, please.
Okay. Are you the same person that asked question about SQL?
Yes.
Okay. I think yeah, I mean, no, I'm not supposed to be your teacher. You should be my teacher, really.
Why?
You know, you seem to know a lot, really. Where do you work? You are a data analyst?
Yes, I am.
Mhm. Okay, so I need
But
to
I
know
don't use Power. I don't use Power BI. So
what your
no,
stack.
I don't. I'm just using Power BI. Do you get? That's actually why I joined this class. Do you get?
Okay,
I just started using Power BI
okay. So
as
what do
a
you use in your
reporting
organization?
tool. That's why. What?
What do you use in your organization?
We use Python. We use Python, Excel. So we just started using
Power BI.
Power Power BI. Yes. So actually, how I joined this class, someone linked me up with what's
Okay.
Remedy. So
Yeah.
we're working on something together, but we didn't get an agree basically about it. So I now saw this class. So I'm like, okay, knowledge is what. So that's what I'm training. So
Okay. Okay. It's fine. So
mhm.
at least are you people are
so
seeing some. Go ahead, please.
so is it the SharePoint folder and the SharePoint file? Is there a difference? Like, because I'm trying to think through why I was running into errors, like why it
Yeah.
did not work. Because at the point I just left it and looked for another way to connect to the file I needed. But
Okay.
now that you're talking about it, I wouldn't mind if that can work, because at the end of the day, if it works, it's something like it's a knowledge for me. Do you get?
Yeah. So thank you for your question. I'm sure that other people too are learning, and then they begin to appreciate and see the importance of what we are doing. So it's a win-win for everybody, for me, for you, and other members of the class. So I will go back now, so that people that were not paying attention before, we now pay more attention now. So new source, more, and then I can do SharePoint. If I do share, all the available connection for SharePoint will be listed there, which is SharePoint folder, online list, and SharePoint list. Now, SharePoint folder is different from SharePoint list. If you are connected to SharePoint folder, you select SharePoint folder. Then SharePoint list, there are two. There is on-prem and there is cloud. Before now, there are people that are SharePoint developer, just like me. I would say that I'm a Power BI developer. They are SharePoint developer. That okay, their stack is actually SharePoint. There are organizations that use SharePoint for their stuff, for their as their intranet, really. So if the SharePoint you are trying to connect to is online, you do SharePoint online list. If it's on-prem, you do SharePoint list. But if it is a folder, then you have to go to the folder. But I'm guessing that you are trying to connect to SharePoint online list. So whatever the case may be for everybody, you select that. So SharePoint list, SharePoint, you see import data from SharePoint online site, import data from SharePoint site, which is on-prem, then import folder from SharePoint folder. So our case now is SharePoint list, which is likely your case too. So once you select that SharePoint list, you click on connect, and then you can then go back to your browser where you fetch the list. So now this is the list now. I will just copy this URL, Control A, Control C. I'm deliberately going to make this thing to give us error. Then we'll resolve it together. So I'll paste it. So if I do this, first it's giving me this warning. Was it the error you got? Was it the error you got?
No. From what I
Okay.
even did, there was no a 2.0 and a 2.1, so that option wasn't even available. I'll probably go back to it later today and see what the error was.
Yeah, you probably
But
connected to
it's not
SharePoint.
even, it's not this 2.0, 1.0. I didn't see all of this.
Yeah, probably you were doing SharePoint folder or something. Let's check it together. So new
So,
source, more.
okay, so if you're saying folder, if you're saying folder, do you mean like when you go to your SharePoint, do you mean, please, can you go back to your SharePoint, please?
Look at this what she said.
SharePoint itself,
Yeah.
not this one, not the one on Power BI. Yeah. If you're saying folder, do you just mean this super data? Is that what you mean by the folder? Why this
No,
other individual one are the files?
no. You come to your SharePoint
Oh, okay.
content.
So please explain what is meant by folder.
You come to your SharePoint content. So from your SharePoint content, you have all these. SharePoint work like an intra-site that is within your organization. So you come to your site content, and then you have the list. Then you have site pages. You have document library. Then if it's a folder, probably you have a folder in your document here. So you can connect to that folder here. So, but in our case now, I'm working with a list. You know that when you are in SharePoint, you can click on new, list, page, document library. So if you click on document library, that will create a folder for you. So what we are doing is a list. So I'm clicking on that superstore data set. Then I'll copy this URL now to see. Then I come in here. Now, because I select folder, you see it's still going to take URL, but it's not showing 1 or 2 for the implementation. So if I paste the one for a list for inside folder, of course, you are never going to make an headway. So, but what we want now is, you see, enter the root URL for the SharePoint right, not including subfolders. So that is that. So now, let me now go back and do SharePoint online list. So SharePoint online list. I click on connect. And like I said, enter the root URL and not the SharePoint folder. So I can do Control V. So of course, it's going to give me error. But because there is now indicator telling us that is the root URL. So how do you know the root URL is that this list is just an hyperlink. There are a lot of things embedded in it. So the root URL starts from HTTP up to sharepoint.com. So I'll just take out this other part of the link. I'll take it out. Number one, that one icon is gone. Then I can do OK.
What's the difference between the 2.0 and the 1?
There are just various versions. There is documentation for it that you can read up. It depends on what you are trying to achieve. It's more of SharePoint developer stuff. So when so you can check documentation really. I really don't know the difference. So what I don't know, I will tell you I don't know. Do you get? It's just like there is data factory now. There is version 1, there is version 2. So there are some things that you get on version 1 that will not be available on version 2. But most of the time, I always do implementation 1.0.
Okay.
So are they joking, right? So these are all everything that we have in this SharePoint URL list. So let me just cancel now and do that again so that we'll have the SharePoint list. More SharePoint online list. Then I'll click on connect. Then oftentimes people miss out. I delete up to this place too. It will allow me connect, but probably route me back and tell me that it's unable to connect. So if you do it, you may get this error and say unable to connect. If you keep returning from now to eternity, you get nothing. So you can always click on edit and then adjust that URL to just the root URL. So I'll take out this site now and then I'll click on OK. So typically, it's supposed to prompt me to log in with your organization account. So you log in with your account. Let's say you are working at Irimide. It will be like adejoke@irimide.com. Then you have your own organization password. So then you can get to site pages. No, it's not showing me the list. Although let me just load this SharePoint list now. Okay. So see, come back to Power BI. Yeah, then Johnson. Oh, I don't want to close this thing. So new source, more, SharePoint, online list, connect. And then I paste this. Oh, up to yeah. Okay. So super. Why is it not picking it up? Okay, let me reload. It's supposed to list it here like we have been seeing for other pages, not all this one I'm seeing. Okay, let me close this PBIX file now. I will save all this one for the sake of so I'll close and apply. Then I will keep this one because I will need those data sets for the transformation that we want to do, and then we can then pick it up from there. So don't we are not wasting time. We are just trying to do every demonstration that is possible to get data. So it will take time to load depending on the specification of your laptop, depending on the size of your data set. So all of them will take time to load before they are available in your Power BI desktop. So while that is loading, you see now, this is loading. You see this fact table from SQL. You see we have almost, I think it's about 1 million rows of data, if I'm not mistaken. So it is when all of them are loaded that it will now load into your Power BI desktop. Other ones are loaded, but they are waiting for this fact table to load. So that is why it is important that you limit what you are bringing into your data set. Okay, you are doing over 2 million rows of data now. I shouldn't have connected this thing. So don't worry, your Power BI can be slow if the specification of your laptop is actually small. Oh, good God. Yeah, almost 3.5 million rows of data. So you know you cannot have that in your what's it called? In your Excel file. So these are all the tables that we had imported earlier. So I want to open another PBIX file to do for SharePoint list. So but I'll delete this one for, let me delete it yet because I need it for a certain demonstration. So I'll press Ctrl N to open a new PBIX file. Then I will go back to my SharePoint list, fetch the link, and then the new file that is opening up, I can then paste that URL and connect to SharePoint. Yes. So I'll click on get data, then I will look for more, then I will do SharePoint and SharePoint online list, and I'll click on connect. And I'll paste that URL and I'll remove up to sites. Then I'll do OK. Yeah, somehow I'm not finding, I will sort that later. So let's just continue with our class. Hold on. Okay, I think it's a Microsoft issue. Issue like this are bound to happen, especially if you are using a developer account and not your real organization account. But essentially, this is what you do: you paste that URL and then you paste it. I had connected to this list earlier today. In fact, I imported that list myself for the sake of this demonstration, and I connected. I don't know what is going on now. So it's developer account. Sometimes because the developer account, you can have issues like this. But let me see if I can fetch. Uh, I should not be doing that. Data privacy. I didn't want to use organizational data to demonstrate that. So let's just go ahead and move to data transformation. So you just bring that into your data set and then you start doing your data cleaning. So now we have all the tables here. So I can go back and do my data transformation now. So I will transform my data now. Okay. So these are all the tables that we had imported from SQL from the two flat files also, and also from CSV file. Then lastly, too, we are going to try that at the end of the class. If you are able to bring in from SharePoint also, this is the way it's just going to appear. So these are all the things that you can do. Now the interface of Power Query, just like Power BI Desktop too, there are various interfaces here. You have your home, you have transform, you have add column, you have view, you have tools, and you have help. So for the person that was asking that what are these green bars, so to have it in your own Power BI desktop, the first thing you should do if you are working on Power Query for the first time, after the first time you always have it, is that you come to your view. Are we together, please?
Yes.
So if you are on view, you see that there is formula bar. This is what is called formula bar. It is checked. So if you are on check it now, you won't see it again. But it's good you have it on. Then there is show white space, there is column distribution, there is column profile, there is column quality. If you are writing exam, you come across this differentiate between column distribution, column profile, and column quality. So if I do column profile, okay, column profile, this is column profile now. This bars below. Now you can see that from this column profile now, you can see the statistics. You can see the counts, you can see the number of error, the empty, the distance, the marks, and all of that. Those statistics that you can see as far as this row ID column is concerned. If I come to this ship mode column also, I will see different statistics as far as that is concerned. If I come to a column that has a numbers, for example, say I'm on sales, then you can see the statistic also, you can see the count, you can see the error distance, you can scroll down, you can see the mean, max, average, standard deviation, and everything that you want to see as far as those column is concerned. So if you have column, you have column distribution. So column distribution is those bars. So if you want it, of course you should want it. Everybody should have it. Column distribution, you have all these bars. So these bars are telling you that okay, these are how the columns are distributed, the row ID, and all of that. Then the column profile, you can see that you have valid, error, and empty. So if I uncheck column profile is this one down here. Then column quality talks about this valid, error, and empty. So empty is the column profile. So if I do for column profile too, the other one will go. Then column distribution, then these bars too will go. So I'm assuming this is what you have in your Power BI, Power Query rather. Are you with me?
Yes.
Yes, we are. I am.
So in your Power Query, check all this column quality, column profile, and column distribution. So this is what will give you an insight into the quality of your data sets, how they are distributed and all of that. So you can see already that, okay, there's also a little bar here that is showing us that we have 21 columns and 999 plus rows. Then you see the column profile. Then the green telling us the valid rows, the error rows, and of course the empty row. So me looking at this column quality, you can see that, okay, if there is error, it's going to give you the percentage error. If there is empty rows, you see the percentage rows. Unlike Excel, you don't have all these statistics and information. So that is that for column profiling. And then you can hover on them and you see if you have over on valid now, then I can come here. I can still click on these ellipses here. Then I can copy, keep duplicate, keep error, remove duplicate, remove empty, remove error, replace errors, depending on what you want to do. So that is view. So let's not jump gun. I just want us to have this configured in our Power Query so that you can already have insight into the quality and the integrity of the data you'll be working with. So, however, this is not the true state of our data, because if you remember, this Excel file is actually about 9,000 rows of data. Yeah, 9,995 rows of data. So I go back to my Power BI now and I'm seeing just 1,000 rows. So what you can do is that the column profile, column quality, column distribution statistics that you are seeing now is not correct. It is showing based on the top 10,000 rows. So what you can do is that you can come here where it's saying that column profiling based on top 1,000 rows. So I change that to entire data set. So that will reload the column profile here. So you can see now that for the row ID column, we have 9,994 distinct, 994,000 unique. So it's already giving you more insight into it. You can see the valid is now 9,994, error, which is 0, then empty. Now, but this is not always the case for reward data. So each of the column will load up their column profile, column quality, and column distribution statistics. So if I come to quantity, I can see the column statistics. So I can see that in this quantity column, the rows that has 3 in them is about 2,490. The rows that has 8 in them is about just 8. The rows that have 1 in them, they are about 899. So this will give you your column distribution. This one will give you your column is it quality now or profile. So to give you every information about that particular column, and then you can see anything that you need to know. So another thing that we need to pay attention to is the icons in front of the column headers. The icons in front of the column headers. So now we are beginning our data transformation, data preparation. Now you can see that in this row ID, we can see a little 1, 2, 3 icon. But in front of other ID, we can see ABC. In front of other dates, we can see like a calendar-like icon. So those icons are giving us information to the data type that we have in that column. Now in this row ID column now, what we have are numbers. So that is why it's giving us number, which is the data type. So you can click on them. For example, if we click on it, these are all the data types that is available. You have decimal, you have fixed decimal, you have whole number, you have percentages, you have date and time, and every other data format that is available. So we have text, we have order, we have ship date too, and with their respective data type. So all these ones are text, so you expect that the data type is also in text. But in case the Power BI did not automatically detect the data type, you can always change the data type to what you think it is appropriate. That is why AI cannot take your job. In case you have that fear. Now look at this one now, you can see that it's 1.2. So definitely that is a decimal number, that's data type. So the first thing you want to do when you are bringing in your data set, everything that we have been doing since morning is extract. Now we are on transform. Now, when you want to start your transformation, you have to check your data integrity and data quality. you want to check that, okay, are they in the right data type? Okay, these are numbers and data type is whole number. That is fine. You don't need to do anything. These are text. These are dates. And then if I click on these two, we can see that this is the icon for date, and this is the icon for date time. So Power BI automatically has picked up the navigation on the back end while you are doing your extraction and detect the data type. If you notice, there is this pane here where you have applied step. Typically, when you do any data loading or extraction, there are some apply steps that will be applied automatically by Power BI for you. But and they'll be recorded here. So this is like a recorder of all the steps that we are going to be taking, of all the transformation steps that we are going to be taking. So when you connected to this Excel file, these 3 steps have been applied automatically by Power BI. So this one is the source, this one is the navigation. And then the interesting thing about it is that you can go back and forth. Let's say you are mistaken in the steps that you've applied, you can always go back, go forth, then remove and adjust depending on what you want to do. So as I was saying, the first thing is that you ensure that your data set is clean. And how do you know it's clean? Your valid is up to 100%. If there are errors, you can remove the errors. Now, there are things to consider if you want to remove error or you want to remove empty. For example, now we have almost 10,000 rows of data, and then about 5,000 are showing error, and then you go ahead to remove it, then you are not doing well because you are already taking about 50% of your data away. So your work as a data analyst is to actually to clean that data. And if you are lucky, you are working in an organization where there is a data engineer, your data set will be relatively clean. But this data set we are working with now is just for learning, so it is clean. We really do not need to do any transformation. So all you have to do is that you decide the amount of data you want to remove if it's giving you error or empty. That is after you have done all your transformation. So as much as possible, whatever data set you are going to be removing should not be more than 10%. Say you are doing analysis of 1,000 rows of data, and then you are removing about 100 rows. That is permissible. But once it's getting to 400 out of 1,000, then it is too much. Then your analysis cannot be accurate. It cannot be right. It's going to be very biased. So first thing is that you ensure that your valid is 100%, no error, no empty. And if there are errors, you can remove them if you think that is necessary. So what I will do now is that I will try to change this other ID column, change data type to, let's say, numbers. So I'll change it to all numbers. So it's going to ask me, do I want to replace this step or add a new step? Let me just do add a new step. So you notice that error is now 100%, empty, nothing, valid, dash. And then when I did that, the apply steps increased. So every step that you take will be recorded here. And if you are mistaken, you can always go back and then you can always navigate. So the change type that was there before was this. This was the last step that was applied where it was still looking fine. But immediately I tried to change the data type, it recorded that step for me, and then the column profile has changed. So since and you that is expected because the actual data type here is not actually whole number. Remember that what I do was to change it to whole number because we have, even though we have numbers here, you still have dash and you still have a text. You have alphabet here. So me changing it to whole number, I'm definitely going to run into error. So that is why I have error now. So in case that you have done a transformation that you think it is not the appropriate one, or you want to take it away, you can just click on this cross right here and delete it. So that type that is applied here will be deleted for you. So that is that. You can always change it to, for example, now I can change this ship date. I can change it to date time. I'm guessing, let me add a new step. So you can see that the icon for dates is different from the icon from date time. And you can see that it has added the time. Now this one is not into error because it is similar. Date is close to date time, as against moving from a text to number. So we are going to run into error. So you can always take out the apply step. So every step you apply will be recorded here. Then also every table that we have, they are listed here. You most time you are not going to be working with one table in real life. You work with multiple tables. So all the tables that you are importing are is they are all going to be listed here as queries. Now look at this SQL query that we used. Now you notice that this query one was one that we use SQL. If you click on, you can click on source. Then if you click on source, you can always come back to that server part where you can then adjust the query. So I will do that now. Say I still do not want um, some columns. Let me just remove this sage key up to this place. I'll take this out. Then I will just, instead of 1000, I will do 10. I'll click on OK. So you see that I was able to adjust what was there before, and then I have lesser columns. Now I can even go further and make it just 2 columns. Let me even do one. Tired?
Yeah.
Sorry, we're almost done. So I can always go back and adjust it accordingly. Then also query one is not intuitive. I can always come here, the name of the query, and call it whatever name that I think is appropriate. Just call it demo. And hit enter. Then the name of the table will change. You can do it right from here, or you can come here and still right click. You can right click here on your mouse, and then you can rename it and call it whatever thing you want. So the same thing. Now look at that table that we have almost 3.5 million rows of data. I can then come here, also come to the source and adjust it accordingly. I can paste any SQL query here so that it will not be dragging our work. But because I'm not going to use it, so I will just delete it. So every table that you have here, there are certain operations that you can perform on them. So to know what you can do, you can actually right click on them, you can copy them. If you had copied it, you can paste it. Paste is grayed out, you can delete, you can rename, you can enable load. Now this enable load means that you have your data sets in your Power Query, but you don't want it to come into your Power BI desktop. So you uncheck this. So when you do that, it's going to prompt you with this warning message. Then you click on continue. Then you notice that this superstore is now in italics. It's now in italics. So when I close and apply, this particular table will not be loaded, even though it's in Power Query. It will not be in Power BI desktop. Does that make sense?
It does.
So, and say you now want it back, you can still right click and then you check. Then it's no longer in italics. So that is that. So you can always right click and there are several options. Then there is duplicate. I can duplicate this table too. I will right click and duplicate. So that's that. Then I can also do reference. Reference is different from duplicate. Now, reference and duplicate look like they are the same, but I promise you they are not the same. Why duplicate is making the what's it called? The table, they are now 2. But reference means that this, okay, let me delete this one so that it will be clear. So I'll delete this. And I'll also delete this. and I will delete this also. So these are all the tables that we have now. Now, if I duplicate this churn data now, this churn data 2 is totally independent of the original data set where I was duplicating from. But if I do reference, this churn data 3 is actually dependent on the original data. Now, if you look at the apply step for the one that I duplicated and the one that I referenced, it is different. Let's pay attention to this place now. Now, when I duplicate, I have all the apply steps here. When I referenced, I have just this here. So what that means is that a duplicated query or table is independent of the mother table. Let's see it like that. This is the mother table. So if I do anything on this mother table, it's not going to affect this duplicated table, which has these apply steps. But on a reference table, it's still not independent. This one cannot stand on its own. It's actually depending on the original table. So if anything happens to this original table, then this churn data 3 will be affected. Does that make sense? Are we together?
Yes, we are.
Yes, I think, yeah.
Okay. So let's not forget that I did duplicate and I also did reference. So now I want to delete their mother, which is this churn data. So if I delete this churn data now, nothing will happen to 2, but something will happen to 3. Didn't I delete? I deleted now. Okay. So I'm deleting this churn data table. Reference by okay.
You can't delete it.
No, I deleted this churn data too. It's not supposed to be here. So let me try again. So I'm deleting this. So now I cannot delete this table because table 3 is dependent on it. Do you understand? So now another thing to demonstrate here is this. While table 2 is a duplicate of the original table, while and table 3 is a reference, if I delete some columns in the mother table, it will affect the reference table. So let me rename it so that it will be clear. Rename. Let me call this one mother. Let me call this one and I'll call this one reference. So that it will becomes clear. So I cannot delete this mother table because the child is still alive, which is the reference. So if I try to delete it now, it will not allow me to delete it. That is the warning message it keeps giving us. Now the mother query cannot be deleted because this is being referenced by another query called reference. Now I can delete this duplicate and nothing will happen. So if I click on delete, it's just going to ask me if I want to. Are you sure you want to delete? If I click on delete now, it's gone and it's gone forever. So the duplicate table is now independent of the original mother table. Then another thing is that if I come to this mother table now and I delete every other column, so if I right click on this column, then I remove other columns, then I have this column alone. If I come to this duplicate table, nothing will happen to all the columns in here. But if I come to reference table, it will affect it. Remember that I deleted from their mother, but the deletion is affecting the table I referenced, but not the duplicate that I did. So that's the difference between duplicate and reference. So if you know that you still want to keep your transformation, you use your referencing. But if you know that you don't want it to be dependent on the model, you use your duplicate. So as time goes on, you appreciate the use case for duplicate and reference. So let me take them out. So let's go ahead with our class. We have about 40 minutes more. Now we are doing the transformation already. Remember that this name is not so good. We can just rename it and call it states. So that's then another thing that typically, unlike other tables, the columns header were detected automatically. So I can come to this states table now, where I know that the header is supposed to be states and also capital. So what I can do is that I can actually use first row as header. There is transformation here, so I can come here, do this, and then use the first row as header. So if I click that, you see that our state and capital has now jumped to be the header, and then that process is recorded here, promoted header, and the data type has been detected automatically. That is why you still have this change type 1. Are you together, class?
Yeah, please repeat the step.
Okay. So so this is the original data set. You know, we fetched this from the internet, but we all know that state and capital should be the column header, which has not been detected by Power BI. So what you can do is that you come to this use first row as header, and you do the drop down, then use first row as header. So it automatically promotes that first row to become the header. So the step has been recorded here. Are you good now?
Yeah, yes.
Okay. So before I continue, there is another thing on this home tab called Advanced Editor. Inside of Power Query, there is something called M language. M language is native to Power Query, but when you are working on Power BI desktop, you are going to be working with DAX. So that is where we are going to take DAX later. But inside of Power Query, we have something called M language. It's the language of Power Query for data cleaning. So while all these apply steps are here, it's being recorded here, you can also see them here. So let me close this now. So from your home tab, there is Advanced Editor. So if you click on it, it's now going to show you all the steps that have been applied. So you have the source, you have the change type, you have the promoted header, you have the change type too. So you can see that from the source, the URL that we pasted earlier is being recorded somewhere in here. Don't worry about M language, you don't have to know it. It is generated automatically by Power BI, just that is recorded here. But when you get to the advanced level, you begin to see how you can actually play around with what's it called? With M language for your data cleaning and transformation. So all the steps that you are going to apply, you are going to see it here. So let me just click on done, just for knowledge sake. That is that. Now another thing I want to quickly point out now is this. You know that we also have apply steps for this superstore data, and this superstore data is actually sitting on my desktop. It's sitting on my desktop, so I want to minimize and show us where I have that data set. Okay, it's sitting on my desktop under my download folder. So if I copy this data set now, or let me just cut it and put it on my desktop for instead, I'll paste it here. No, okay, I have to close it. Really. Yes. So remember that it was formerly saved in my download folder, but now I have it in my desktop. So if I go back to Power BI now and I come here, then I will probably not get this again. You see, an unexpected error occurred. That's because the part of this file that we connected to when we connected to this file was on the download folder, but now it's on a different location entirely. So how do you resolve this error? And this is something that is possible. Remember maybe when you were first building your reports, you connected from desktop. Now you already moved that Excel file to another place entirely on your computer, on your laptop. Then you are going to run into this error. So how do you resolve it is that you come to this source, you click this setting icon, then you can see that the initial file path is your download folder, but now it's no longer here. So what you do is that you browse to the new location, which is on my desktop, and then I will select that file, then I will click open, and I will click on OK. Then that will resolve this error for me. So I no longer have that error message. So in case that the destination of your Excel file changes, you have to navigate and point Power BI in the new file path. So I will move it again from my desktop. I will move it. I will paste it in my document folder. So if I go back to Power BI now, I expect to still get the error again because Power BI has forgotten your file location because you change it, obviously. But in case you are working in real life and then you need to resolve that, so that's how to go about it. You come here, point Power BI in the new file location. Another way to do it is you can actually come to the new location, which is the document. You can select the file and then you can right click on it and you can copy as parts. You copy the part of your file. So then you come back to Power BI and then on this formula bar right here, you can then change these parts. This is the new part. You see that it has changed now. It was in download before, now it's in document. So that's one way. Or you come to this advanced editor right here and replace this old part here and click on OK. So now I'm running into problem because there are multiple codes here. What did I do? I think I already messed up with this thing. Discard. So let me see the right format. So this is the right format now. Okay. So I can come to advanced editor here and check the right thing. So this is the right format it should be. So all I have to do is to paste the new parts into that advanced editor or on formula bar, but I want to paste it into my notepad first so that I'm sure of what I'm pasting in there. So this is the new part. You can see that the part that I generated from the file is similar to the part that is there. So now we have our file inside document, and then on our Power BI is actually in downloads. So if you change the location of your file, all you have to do is to replace it with the new location. So all our document is right here in document. So all I have to do is just to copy this new part now and paste it here. And then I can click on done. So it will resolve that error for me. So either you click on source here and navigate to your new location, or you get the path and paste it inside the formula bar here, or you come to advanced editor. Either way is going to resolve the challenge. So let's sort this guy too. So that's how to do that. The same thing if you are working with SQL source. If the database has changed or anything, all you have to do is to point your Power BI into the new direction. Oh, good God. One class is always not enough for Power Query. So let me run now. I'm picking up a pace. So that is that. So now I will take all the tabs one after the other. Home, transform, add column, view, and tool. So all you need to do for tools, I already show. So we are done with view tab. So on the tools also, this is really advanced. So just ignore it for now. So I'm now going to be introducing us to various use cases that we can actually use. One that we have done already is promoting column headers to resolve the appropriate column headings for us. So I'll stay on my Superstore now. Let me delete this one. Are we together?
Yes.
Okay. So now we get familiar with the interface more. So I had taken this part, I had also taken this part, and I also have taken this part also. Now the juicy part is this upper part, all the tab. So we have home, we have transform. So the only thing we've talked about on this home tab is the new source. That's fetching your data, and also close and apply. Then of course recent sources too is also available here. Then enter data. That's if you want to enter your data manually and put it. Then data source setting. And this is another place you can actually navigate to your file location or destination. So if you select it also, it's going to show us the path so you can change the source. You know, we have two tables here, the one from Excel and the one from internet. So that's why you see the icon. Then you can always change the source. You can click on it and then navigate to where you want. You can click on change source, then it will take you to where you want to change the source also. So that is data source. Then mind parameter really advanced. Then refresh preview. Now you know initially when we loaded our data sets, we are seeing just 1,000 rows of data. But now, if you refresh at every point in time, it will always refresh the top 1,000 later, then it will change with time. Or let's say your Excel file is being populated. So it is at the point of import, the number of rows that was in your Excel file is what will be in Power BI. So if you add new rows, all you have to do is just to trigger this refresh manually. Then I had touched on advanced editor too. Then properties. Properties will also give us the ability to rename, just like you can rename here, or you can right click here and rename. Then manage. Let me close this. Then manage also. Manage will give us to delete the table, or you can duplicate or reference. So some of the things that you can do by right clicking on these tables, you will find them on this upper part of your Power Query. Now you know that if you right click on this, you have all these options available to you. Yeah, I didn't do this. Okay, let me just duplicate this one now. So I'll duplicate states. I'll duplicate states. And I'll also duplicate Superstore. Are we in class or people are tired?
We're in
See,
class.
Princess, you're asking that at what point you are going to get to the advanced part.
Yes,
Don't worry.
boss.
When we get to the advanced part, you will say we should come back to the basics. I promise you.
Okay, boss.
I beg you, stop calling me boss or Francis. So let's go back. So now the part I forgot to show us here is that if you right click here, you see delete, rename, enable load, include in report refresh. So just like enable load too, it is explicit. Now move to a group. I can do a new group just to make your work units, new group, and then I can call it let me call it princess. Okay. So it will create like a folder like for me. So I can then bring this state here and drag it into this princess folder. Then I can organize my work this way by creating groups as the case may be. Then if I want to move it up or down, I can move this one down because that's the only way it can go. I can move this one up depending on what I want to do or the location. So you can play around with all those ones and then you begin to appreciate some of these things. So I can delete this entire princess folder and everything inside that group will be deleted. So let me take out this superstore too. So that is that about that as far as that is concerned. So this is superstore now. Then another thing is I have point us to all the data type and then the appropriate data type and then the column properties and all of those things. So you can also right click on them. So you have all these options available for you. You have remove. Say I don't want this row ID column now. I can remove this column. Then it will be recorded here for me. I can filter it down. There is this little arrow in front of all of them. And then maybe exclude what I don't want. I can exclude this guy. Then I can click on OK. Then you can see filtered row. I can always come back to this setting icon and add it back if the case may be, or I can actually take it out completely. So then another thing is that a lot of options here. I can click on remove other columns. If I do remove other columns, as against remove is that it's going to keep this column I have selected and remove every other column. You can see now that is the only column that we have. So if I come back to the previous step, I can see all the columns. If I come back to this also, I can see where you are coming from. So in case you make a mistake with what you are doing, you can always trace back yourself using the applied steps side of Power Query. Then other transformations are also possible. See, you can remove error, you can remove duplicate and all of those things. Now, for example, now if I remove duplicate here, I can remove duplicate here. Then okay, cancel. I'm trying to remove duplicates not at the last step. So it's asking me if I want to insert this step. So I'll canceling it. So I will come back to my apply step and come to the last steps here. Then I will take out my remove other column. Then if I come to this ship mode now, if I right click, then I can remove duplicates. So you can imagine, of course, that step is not the best of steps to apply. Now we have just 4 rows of data because you have just 4 distinct values here. So you can see now that it's showing 4 unique, 4 distinct. So I'll take that out. So Power BI is a bit self-explanatory. The names are very easy. Then you can change data type right from here to the data type that we have is text. So you can change it to any data type of choice or the appropriate data types, not of choice. Before you say, I'm the one I should make a number text. So you have that. You can do your transformation to. So for example, now, I want to change this ship mode column. I want them to be in uppercase. So I can come to transform here. Then I can say uppercase. Then everything in this column will be in uppercase. So I can still come there and say that I want these guys to be in lowercase. So depending on what you want to do. So those are the transformations that are available when you right click on these columns. Then the one that is interesting here is that you can split column. Now imagine that you have a first name and second name column. First name and second name column. So assuming that this is Francis Folaranmi. So when I want to split it, I can just right click here, and I come to split column. There are various parameters on which you can split column by. You can split it by delimiter, you can split it by number, you can split it by position, or anything that you want. So I want to split it by delimiter. So if I do by delimiter now, so it has picked the delimiter for me. In this case now, is left. Then I can do OK. Then you can see that I have this standard second in one column, then I have this guy two in one column. So you have shape mode 1, shape mode 2. Then you can then double click here and rename your column to whatever thing you want. So that's splitting parameter. Assuming that you have two columns too that you want to merge. Let's say I want to merge the states and the city name together. So I can select this city column, also select state column, then I can right click, then I can see merge column. So I select merge column. So it's going to ask me what I want to separate them with. So I can choose a column, I can choose comma, I can choose equals to semicolon space. So let me pick a column. Then I can give the name of the column. Merge, I can call it location now. I can call it location. And I'll click on OK. So I pick column as my separator. So that is why it's merging the state and the city together. So you can come back so that you can have a view of where you are coming from. Where we are coming from was city and state. Now I had merged the two columns. So I have merge column here. So and I can adjust it. Say I can come here and change the separator to space. Then I can do OK. Then you can see space. I can put any separator that I want. And if you think the separator is not right for you, you can always put your own. I can put a double dash and click on OK. So depending on what you want to do. So those are interesting things that you can find in when you right click on any column. So you can replace the values, replace error, split column, group by, and all of that. So I will do group by now. So I want to do group by for sales. So now we have sales for different states, different countries, and different places. So we have, and you can see that all the steps that I've applied so far are being recorded here. So what I want to do now, let me just take out this image. Let me take out this image. So what I want to do now is that if you filter here now, and then I just select just the state of Colorado, Colorado. So every data set I have here will be for Colorado alone. So, and data for Colorado is about 182 rows. I had filtered that now. So I can take it out because I don't want that. I just want to show us that Colorado in this state column appear 182 times. So, but there is something called data aggregation. So that's what I want to demonstrate now. So now that I have state column, then I also have sales. So I can come to this my sales now and right click, and I can group by. So when I click on group by, I want to group by sales, then by sum, then I want to group it by city. Then I will click on OK. Oh, I think I make a mistake. It should be the other way around. Let me delete this. So I'll come to states. I'll come to states, and then I will come to group by. Then I will select what I want to group it by now. Sum. I think it's sum. So sum of the sales. I will select sales. You can drag this guy up so that you see sales. Then I do OK. Yeah. So now I have a summarized table. Now instead of having Colorado or any of the states listed, I have it summarized. So what that did for us is that the sum, if I come here, okay, let me duplicate this guy so that we appreciate what we are doing. We have 15 minutes and we are not halfway done. Eremide.
I don't know. Let me able to do the quiz.
So now, if we come to our city now, our state rather, and I uncheck everything, then I pick on Colorado and I click on OK. If I click on that Colorado now, I will see the column statistics showing us that the count is one. It's appearing 182 times, and then I'm supposed to see the sum really. I was hoping I was going to see the sum of this guy. So what the summary will do for me is that it's going to give me sum up all the sales for the state of Colorado when I did that group by. So it will sum up all the sales for Colorado. That is why when I did the group by here, you will not see Colorado two times. You can only see it once. So if I click on Colorado now and click on OK. So this is just sum of all the sales for Colorado. So I can just take this guy out. So that is a group buy. That is group buy. So which other? Let me see. So as the use case appear, you begin to apply them yourself, and then you use them. Okay, the last one that is interesting here is on pivot column. Now there are times that the data set we have may not necessarily be in the shape that you want. For example, now your data set is appearing in a vertical orientation. You can change it to a horizontal orientation. So let me show you what I mean. So you can do that with pivoting and unpivoting. So let's say region now. I can right click on region, then I can do on pivot column or on pivot other column or on pivot only selected column. On pivot columns and on pivot only selected column is essentially the same thing. But on pivot other columns, we do for other columns other than the one that is selected. Then I will do on pivot other column. So it's just going to change the orientation for me, but this one is not clear. I want to use something that will be clear to everybody. So I will do this, then I will on pivot column. So on pivot column for me, instead of having all the ship mode as the heading, we now have it as part of the row, and then it's now going to duplicate our entire data set. You can see that we now have 000, then we now have number 000 number. So it is just to rotate the orientation from vertical orientation to horizontal orientation. Then what other interesting feature do we have in there? So if you right click also, I think that is essentially all. However, most of the transformation steps that you have when you right click on a particular column, they are also up there. So I think we'll just do a merge query and append query. Maybe in the next class, then we'll pick up the next thing we have to do. So everything, most of the things that we have when you right click are up here. We are touched on all these ones. Then yes, then there is also choose column. So here there is this little guy sitting around there where you can actually select on it, and then all these operations too are possible. So you can play with them at your leisure. I can choose the column that I want. I can remove this Francis column that I created, this shape data I messed with. So I can remove as many columns as possible from here instead of deleting columns one after the other, and click on OK. So those columns will be removed for me. Then I have lesser number of columns. Then I can actually move any column of choice. I can move this profit by just holding down my mouse and drag it manually to whatever side of the table I want it to be, just for accessibility when you are doing your transformation. So those are all the transformations that are possible. So then if you click on these ones too, there are other ones. The ones that I say we are going to talk about now is merge and append. Maybe that one, so that I won't rush it. We'll take it in the next class. Then home is not done really. So you can choose column, go to a particular column. You can remove column also. You can remove column, keep row, remove all those duplicate row. You can see that all these things are already here. So there are multiple places you can actually do them. If you over here, you can come right here, come to this guy, remove row, replace row, and all those things that you have. Then group by, use split column. We have done all of that. I think essentially this is everything that we have on our own tab. Then Azure Machine Learning, Vision, and Test Analytics, those ones are AI. So then transform also. Some of them are also there. This is use column as first header too. Then if I have a column selected, some of these things will no longer grayed out. So profit now, I can and there is one use case that I find interesting. Okay, from this other ID now, I can also right click here. Then I can actually split it based on text and number. If I want to separate the numbers from the text, I can split column by delimiter or by character. So these are things that you can play with. So this one now, it automatically pick it for me and I pick on OK. So you can see that it has split out the numbers and the text. So every transformation that you can see, then there is transpose, reverse row, and all of these things. Then data type also. Now this column now is telling me that data type is text. If I come here, it's telling me is I can check and change data type also. So this is like the third place that you can change your data type. All these field pivot column are what you see when you actually right click on any of the column. And another thing is you can do is that, for example, now let me come to a date column. A date column. So on this date column now, you can come to dates. So if you come on date now, you can extract the age. So if I click on age, it will bring out just the age of these people in number of days. So I can delete that. Then I can still come on date. I can extract just the year. So this is 2016. So other date, I extracted the year. So and anything that you want to extract from the day, and if it's time too, you can do the same. All these ones are if you are trying to run Python and R inside your Power Query. Then also we can do some calculations in here. For example, I want to multiply my sales and my quantity. I want to do that. I can do that and come to let me select sales, then standard, then I can do add, multiply, subtract, and every operation that you want to do. So I'm multiplying sales by, let's say, by 2 or by 5, then you get your outcome. So you can do that. Then another interesting thing that you can also do that you can, I think essentially that's everything also in our transform tab. So you play with all these things as the case may require. Then rounding to, let's say you have decimal. If you have decimal, okay, this one now, this is decimal, for example, our profit now. I can round it up or round it down. If I round up, I get this guy. Then I can also round down and get this guy. So then I can also come to round and specify the number of decimal place. I just want one decimal place. So these are all the operations that you can do. Even if it's statistics also, you can do them and all those ones. Now, what you have in your transform tab is the same thing that you have in your add column tab. But the difference between transform and add column is that transform tab will retain your column, while add column is going to add to it. Say, for example, now, I want to do a look at this standard operations under add column. It's also available in transform column. So if I do it here, this column will still remain. But if I do it from add column, I will come here and then I will say I will multiply it by 10. Multiply it by 10. Then it's going to add a new column for me and still keep this old column. So all the operations that you do under add column, we always add an extra layer of column to the original or the mother column. So but the things that are actually are in add column that is not in transform column are this side of things. Invoke column, column from example. Yes, column for example too is also interesting. Now let me delete some of these steps. Elimide, don't worry, I'm trying to wrap up Power Query today so that next class we'll just move to the next agenda in our handbook.
It's fine.
Yeah, class, we have a permission to spend 5 extra more minutes.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead, sir.
The ladies are not talking.
Maybe dinner is cooking already.
I feel that maybe people are a bit tired, a bit drilled. It's been 3 hours.
I am more tired. So we are rounding it up now. So essentially, those are everything that we have. So you can play around with any data set of your choice and use it. Now, another thing that you can do from add column is, for example, let me use profit, for example. So I can create a conditional column that if column name, if our profit is less than 0, just give us a loss. Then I can add another clause. Else, if our profit also is greater than or equals to 0, then give us gain. Then I can do OK. So I have a new column now. So if I bring my profit side by side to the custom column that I created, you will see that where we have negative, for example, now, if I just filter down, and I just showing us the loss, you will realize that all these numbers are in negative. So that is a conditional column. You can specify any condition of choice. Then index column also, say you want to put a number to it. So index column, we just do this. So you can start your indexing from 0, from 1, or from where you want to start. So I'm starting from 1. So it's going to add a new column to it that will number it from 1 to the last number. And the last one is column from example, or custom column. So custom column could be say we are doing sales, then I'll insert that. Then I can put a multiplication sign by, I'll multiply it by quantity, and I'll insert. Then I'll call it total sales. And OK. So you know that this is a conditional column, which is a product of the sales and the quantity, which will give us our total sales. Then the last one here is custom column from example. Column from example, you will find it really helpful in your work. So now, you know, earlier I had separated numbers from text. So another thing I can do is to actually come here, then I will right click, or I can come to column from example, from selection really. So if I come from selection now, you know that this is the column I want, so I can just type US. I can come to another column. It automatically, it is going to detect the pattern of what I am trying to achieve, and then it will do that for me and create a new column. Another place I can do that is I can do that for our date column. So from other dates now, I can do column from example. So I'm creating a new column from the example from the column that I selected. So this place now I can do, let's say I want to extract just the month. So I'll be 10 slash 2015. So I'll come to another line. It automatically detects the pattern of what I'm trying to achieve. Then I'll click on OK. So essentially, guys, I think we have been able to cover everything in Power Query. Usually, what I do is that I split Power Query class into two. But I realize that I end up doing overload of information without people trying to explore it. Because from next class now, I'm not going to do anything about Power Query again. I expect that we take this home and explore all the transformation steps that we have available in Power Query. So the only thing I'll be doing next week as far as Power Query is concerned is merge and append, which is the only thing I have not touched on this evening. Merge and append, because it's very interesting and powerful to actually work with. So guys, I hope I'm not been able to bore you. Elemide, over to you, please.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone. Francis, will they have the quiz from next week, or do you have anyone prepared already? Hello, Francis. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, I'm asking that the quiz. Do you have anyone prepared already, or till next week?
Yeah, till next week. Till next week.
All right, okay. Thank you very much, everyone. It's been a long 3 hours. Francis said he doesn't want to overload us, but we ended up being overloaded. But it's a good way. It's a good overloading, right? So I'll stop the recording from here so that we can all watch. I'll make sure this recording is posted